has expired. The gentleman from Florida, Mr. Stubbe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would love to see my Democratic colleagues condemn anti-Semitism. I have a resolution that I have filed. One of their own members of their own caucus have said very racist anti-Semitic remarks and have failed to directly address that. So to your point, I would love to see the other side of the aisle condemn one of their own for their own anti-Semitic remarks. I would like to take my time to yield to Ms. Owens. If there's anything that's been said, I'm the last Republican here, so if there's anything that you would like to respond to, I'd like to give you the balance of my time to do that.
Yes, I actually wanted to respond to Congressman Cicilline because he was making references to me, and I thought that was a bit cowardly. He said he was dishonest when he said that the president refused to condemn white nationalism. Mr. Potts just literally gave the exact quote, the president doing just that. He does not want to accept the reality that the president has under multiple occasions condemned white supremacy and white nationalism, and the best condemnation of that is in the president helping the black community every single day with his policies. He also brought up family separation. This seems to only be an issue for illegals at the border, and nobody ever wants to talk about black babies being separated from the womb of black mothers. So if he actually cared about that, he would be embracing me. And lastly, he brought up the rhetoric of the president as in the same breath that he referred to me as despicable. I'm tired of hearing the left refer to people as despicable, as deplorable. We are Americans and we are patriots. And even if we disagree with you, name calling should not be something that is done, especially in these chambers.
Thank you, Mrs. Owens. Mr. Klein, is there anything that you would like to respond to that's been said? I will give you the remainder of my time.
I'm really confused when the good doctor says that Islam does not teach hatred of Jews. There's no problems with that issue, when in fact there's a dozen or more imams in states around the country who have publicly made sermons calling to murder Jews. This is a hadith that's related to the Quran, that's considered very holy. The leaders of the Muslim world from Al-Azhar University have made vile statements against Jewish people, and we really need to have Muslims step up and do what President Sisi says, and there has to be a reformation and a rethinking of the aspects of the Quran that promote hatred against Jews. That's why you have constant murder of Jews in Israel, despite the fact that Israel has offered a state to the Palestinian Authority 4 times in the last 20 years. So this is, to me, one of the most serious issues as to why are half the world's Muslims anti-Semitic, why are 75 to 95% of the Muslims in the Middle East anti-Semitic, why are 1/3 of Muslims in America anti-Semitic, which is 2 to 5 times the rate of anti-Semitism of any other group. This has to be explored, but people are afraid to because then they're called an Islamophobe. And this has nothing to do with Islamophobia. This has to do with the truth, with data that ADL themselves has put forth, surveys have put forth. Pew has also put forth similar data. Why is this an issue? We have to talk about this Muslim anti-Semitism because this is endangering Jews really in America and throughout the world. God forbid this will be translated into physical violence even greater than we're seeing today.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. I will take the balance of my time to the gentleman from Texas.
Thank my friend Ed. It is interesting that the first person and possibly the only American ever ordered killed by a U.S. president with a drone strike was Anwar al-Awlaki. The only reason he was a U.S. citizen is his parents came over on a visa and he was born, and they took him back to Yemen, taught him to hate America. But he was working with the Bush administration and the Obama administration, and apparently as an imam, he was encouraging terrorism that they didn't realize at the time, but apparently that justified killing an American citizen without a trial just through the drone strike. And I really appreciate the atmosphere here. And Ms. Patterson, you sound like somebody I would love to be listening to every day, all day. And I would just encourage you, you know, in the name of eliminating hate, it helps if you don't misquote or mischaracterize statements of the president. He never said asylum seekers are animals. He was talking about MS-13, and if you see the pictures of what they have done, I don't condone calling humans animals, but I've sent people to prison. I've even sentenced people to death, and agreed with James Byrd's killers being sentenced to death. Thank you. My time's expired.